Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Noche UFC Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show. I'm your boy, your host, your man is always behind the camera, your guy Clint, your favorite degenerate gambler, and it's the best time of year. We got football, hockey's right around the corner. Tomorrow, we got fights, people punching each other in the face, and we have had a whole week. We've had a whole week to look at everything we've got. Break the fights down, look at the technical angle, watch the lines move. Now we get to see these people stand up on a stage in their underwear and see which one's bigger and which one had a tough weight cut. And we are going to put that all together in a nice little sandwich. You got the little layers, the meat, the cheese, the bun, and oh, thank you. It's delicious. We get to make the final bets before tomorrow's fights, locking them in today. This is your wrap-up show for the week. We're going to talk about it right now. We're going to break everything down one more time and use that extra little bit of information. The side of Cool Ranch Doritos to go with your sandwich on a hot summer afternoon. Just, I can't wait. All right, everybody, let's get straight on into it. What's up, everybody? I see you all coming in here in the chat. We got Eric Fisher, the train. We've got Detroit Sever, everybody. We got Riff Raff, Neil Jenny. We got my guy D and C Dell. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for being here for the post weigh-in show. Let's get into it. This is Pub Sports Radio. Hit the like button for me. First fight of the evening. Josephine Nutson comes in at 115.5 pounds, taking on Martik 115 on the dot. This is the weird shuffle short notice fight here. Nutson looked mean on the scales today. Intense. That girl is ready to go for her UFC debut. No wonder Hamzat likes her. Next up, you've got Marn. No issues whatsoever. Can't really, pinpoint anything. I'm not overly familiar with her. So she just kind of was there, if I'm being honest. And when these two faced off, Nutson was amped up. She was ready to go. She had her face painted. She was getting in close. And man was just kind of there. She was just kind of there. And I mean, I already felt like this was a lamb to slaughter. I mean, we know man is coming in here to make Nutson look good. Nutson has been challenged by Dana White. He didn't give her the contract on Contender Series because he just wasn't impressed enough with her performance, GSP style. This is really her spot to show out. I think Nutson is being given this opportunity to get a highlight reel finish and get this thing done. Now, the line indicates that they would expect her to do essentially that because she's a minus 700 favorite at this point. I know she's kind of a decisionator, but she's got a big size advantage here. When these two face off, there's a big difference in physicality and there's a big difference in intensity. And even though Nutson did go to decision on Contender Series, she had her opponent hurt like 3 or 4 times and then just did the wrong thing and didn't really follow up on it. The one thing that I would be kind of interested in from a prop perspective would be the submission line. Now, you guys know me. They give us stupid numbers on subs every single time, so they always sucker me in. That's the way I tend to look. I feel like if she hits this girl and hurts her and puts her on the ground, she'll be able to take the back and choke her out. It's kind of the classic women's MMA move, right? There's a lot less knockouts. There's a lot more submissions. Now, can she get on top and just pound her into oblivion until the ref pulls her off? Absolutely. Of course she can. But when you're fighting somebody who's relatively a tough person like man, I feel like the sub is the way that the fight can be finished a little bit easier. You can't out tough a rear naked choke, right? Like you can survive when somebody's bombing on you and give the ref the thumbs up and you're okay, but you can't, when the blood flow stops to your brain, there's not a damn thing you can do. So I kind of like Josephine Nutson by sub at 7-1, maybe for just a sprinkle. She's going to go in the, massive all chalk parlay this week. I don't mind, inside the distance, but you hate to lay numbers in women's MMA. You're getting plus 120, which is not bad. And like I said, my prediction would be that she's going to win this fight inside the distance. So I don't hate it. I really don't. Inside the distance, plus money, that's probably kind of the way that I would look. Minus 700, probably a bit too much, but she deserves it. She'll be the favorite. She's going to win. Next up, you've got Charlie Campbell taking on Alex Reyes. Campbell 155, Reyes 155.5. You got a solid flex from Campbell. He got up there and he did the little throat slice. I like it. I like the intensity from him coming from Charlie Campbell. Alex Reyes, he looked good. He looked really good. I mean, this guy's been gone for literally 6 years and he's had spine injuries and he gave a good solid flex up there. He's well muscled. He's in shape. He looks like he's ready for this opportunity. I don't have a favorable opinion of Alex Reyes. From what we've seen, he seems meh, but it's been 6 years. So, like, man, there is that kind of crazy window of opportunity here that Reyes is nowhere near the man that we saw the last time in there. He could have been training this whole time, just kind of at a non-competitive level, and maybe he's a lot better than we're giving him credit for. He's in shape. I will give him that. I'm definitely picking Charlie Campbell. I do think Alex Reyes doesn't like being hit. We've never seen him succeed at this level, and 6 years down the line at his age, after all the health issues, I can't think that's a spot where he's going to succeed. I'm definitely picking Charlie Campbell. I do think it's going to be Charlie Campbell inside the distance, and I would lean more towards the knockout. They've got that thing juiced all the way to minus 250, which is kind of gross if we're being honest. So it's another one that's really tough to bet. This is just going to be the chalkiest parlay card ever. And my guy AWMD in the chat asking, is this live? Yes. Yes, my friend, it is. Welcome to the Undefeated post-weigh-in show. Free UFC bet picks in the house, my guy. What is going on? All right. And C Dell with the shout out here, plus 900 on that sub line over on FanDuel. You gotta love FanDuel. The prop prices over at FanDuel are always just so sexy. They're so much better than anything. Shout out MMA Guild. Thank you very much for the love. Hit the like button, everybody. All right. So 2 favorites to kick off the night. Next up, you've got maybe like the B-side Civil War on Twitter for this week. You got Tracy Cortez taking on Jasmine Jesuda Vicious. 126 for Cortez, 125.5 for Jazz. Tracy looked fantastic. I mean, there's nothing else you can say about her. She looks like she was motivated. She's in fantastic shape. I mean, I'm not just talking about her looks, like physically speaking, she looked like she was very sharp on point today. Jazz actually looked really good. She's very big for the weight class, so sometimes you can see her struggle a little bit. No real problems today. Big smile. This is a good face-off. Jazz obviously has the size advantage, but I will tell you, not by a lot. I mean, Tracy Cortez got intense up there too, by the way. She stepped in close. I think she's got a bit of a chip on her shoulder after the whole Ortega thing and everyone talking about, her last fight where she had some issues and she pulled out and nobody really knows why. Like, I kind of think Tracy's got that chip on her shoulder here coming into this fight. I like it. I like it. So yes, we've got the size disadvantage on our side here, but I think Tracy Cortez is just the overall more skilled fighter. The big thing with Jazz is that she's bigger than everybody. She outmuscles everybody. I think Tracy Cortez is the more technical wrestler here, and when they get into those grappling exchanges, yes, Jasmine maybe might be able to overpower her, but if Tracy's got the answer to the solution and dumps her, runs the pipe, finds her way to dominant position, that's going to wear her out. We've seen Jazz on bottom, and she gets tired. We've seen it when she's not the hammer and she's not a great nail. So that's kind of what I'm counting on here, is that Tracy is going to be just a little bit more technical in this spot, and that's going to bring her to victory. I know a lot of people who I respect and love are on the Jesuda Vicious side. I'm on Tracy Cortez. I locked her in at minus 125 earlier in the week. This line kind of ping-ponged back and forth. A little bit of tug-of-war here. It dropped down. It came back up. Now I'm seeing Cortez minus 130. So, this one, it's a pick 'em, right? It's a coin, and I could say it's a coin I don't need to flip, but I need to flip it. I'm going to flip this coin. I like Tracy Cortez in this spot. Fight Ready needs to get their ass in gear. Too many L's for Fight Ready recently. Tracy Cortez is going to get us right. Let's go, baby. All right, next up, Edgar Chairez takes on Daniel Lacerda. Chairez 126. I'm sorry, Chairez 126, Lacerda 125.5. Edgar Chairez did require the box of shame. You have got Daniel Lacerda at his 5th opportunity in the UFC, trying to make his mark in the organization, get that elusive win under the UFC banner, and he was feeling himself today. He's got the dyed hair, and he's sticking his tongue out. Like, you would have thought this guy came from New Zealand the way he was acting up there on the scale today. Chairez had a rough time. Faces sucked out badly. I mean, he was really looking rough on the scales today. This was a very fun and respectful face-off. Daniel Lacerda, again, for a guy that's 0-4 in the organization, was really feeling himself up there. High fives. They were hugging it out. He's faking a level change. Like, lots of back and forth. Real good times there. But Edgar Chairez was rocking the sunglasses, and he was moving a little slow, and he was really sucked out. This is the spot, folks. So I did do my Cody Safdie PRP style parlay this week, something I've only done like twice before. I'm not very good at it, but with a really chalk-heavy card like this, it seems like a good opportunity to try it. I said that Daniel Lacerda was maybe the sneaky underdog. I put him at the very bottom of the parlay list because I don't want to have a whole lot of investment on Lacerda after what we've seen from him so far. But Chairez is a guy who's got questionable gas himself. He doesn't have a UFC win either. And even though he's hurt a couple of guys, they've been on the kind of lower level. And we've seen the bad IQ. He puts himself on bottom a lot, and then he doesn't have much from there. I think he could get beat by Daniel Lacerda in this spot. I don't want to lay minus 250 on this guy. And now some money has come in. If there was going to be a post weigh-in show type of read for you guys, this would be it. Like this might be Daniel Lacerda's shot, folks. Like, I think that Chairez had a real tough time on the scales. And if we're going cardio for cardio, that could even this bad boy out. Daniel Lacerda is the bigger man. I do think he's the more well-rounded fighter. And hot take here, they're not giving you a good number on it, of course. But even though Tatsuro Taira couldn't get the sub, I kind of think Daniel Lacerda can. And because he's more of a wild man, right? The club and sub. You rock your guy. You hurt him. You catch him in a scramble. If you slowly climb the tree of Edgar Chairez, you're not going to catch him. He'll see it coming. His defense is solid enough. He's good to go from there. But if you wobble him on the feet, if you hurt him, if you catch him at a weird angle and then all of a sudden your arm is wrapped around his throat, that's how you get a guy like this. I kind of think the flyer on Daniel Lacerda by sub rather than KO is maybe the path to go here. I do still expect this to be a barn burner of a fight. Don't get overly invested if you're going to play it. I still haven't like officially bet anything besides Lacerda being at the very bottom. Tiniest little baby sprinkle of my Hail Mary parlays here this week, but I'm a little bit tempted, just a little bit tempted to actually bet him straight at this point after seeing the weigh-ins. AW is saying Lacerda by decision. Tell me I'm crazy. You absolutely are insane for that one, because I don't know if this guy can go 15 minutes. Even if he's fighting a punching bag, I don't know if he can. Glenbot in the house. Smash the like. What is going on? Marcus in the house. What's up, Joe? Jimmy, why you got to hurt me like that? Why you got to hurt me like that? You know, if Justin Jefferson just falls to the ground at the 1 yard line instead of reaching into the end zone and fumbling, like that one turnover was enough. We win the game by 1 point instead of losing. We were this close. My Vikings are showing some real good stuff right now. Real good stuff. If they just figure out the freaking fumbling issue, they'll be okay. Let's see here. Yeah, Gene saying that Reyes was hurt bad for a while. Don't think he got much training in. I mean, like I said, he just looks in shape. So he's been doing something, right? Like, I'm not sure what that something is, but he's in shape. I'll tell you that much. And I don't want to necessarily doubt the guy that comes in looking like that. Maybe he just did a whole lot of push-ups and drank a bunch of juice. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's going to win this one. I really don't. But he looked better than I expected him to, basically, is really what I was getting at here. Glenbot taking the shot on Tracy, round 2, round 3. Ooh, I like that. I like that. See, the only problem is I actually, Glenn, I had kind of the same thought myself, but if Natalia Silva couldn't do it, I don't think anybody else going to do it if Natalia Silva couldn't do it. Dear Slayer Ski, what's up? New York Islanders, baby. It's almost hockey season. Let's go. I can't wait. Can't wait. What's up, Vulcan? How we doing? And then Stephen Baldwin shouting out the Pub Sports Radio Weekly contest. Thank you, Stephen. Yes, we do have a free contest, $100 up on top, pubsportsradio.com. Just pick your sides and your round and your method, and winner gets $100 every single week on Pub Sports Radio. So make sure you check that out for sure. All right. Next up, Josh Friend takes on Roman Kopylov. We got both guys making 185.5. Josh Friend surprisingly looked all right. I was kind of hoping he looked a little rough. You know, he missed weight last time out. Obviously, I'm sure he put a bit more emphasis on the weight cut coming in on this one, but with the quick turnaround, I still kind of hoped he was having a real tough time up there. He did take a big deep breath. He was a bit slow up there, so it's not an easy cut on him, but it wasn't the worst weight cut I've ever seen from Josh Friend. Roman Kopylov, geez, like he's Brazilian or something. Roman Kopylov looked good, intense, as usual. He's got that curly-headed fuck thing going on. This guy is, a member of the clan. He's got a big size advantage, does Fremd, but he's got a size advantage on everybody. This was a good stare down, really good stare down. Kopylov is in the parlay. What can I tell you? He's the top line in the parlay. I'm trying to fade Josh Fremd every chance I get. I just don't think he's that good. He's got tall man's defense. He's got cardio issues. And folks, I did play half unit on the sub for Roman Kopylov, and I'm getting some shit for that on Twitter. I'm getting mocked for that play on Twitter. It's 16-1, and let me tell you why. We tried this with Jamie Pickett. At 20-1, we tried it with Jamie Pickett. And if you gave me a controller and let me press buttons for Jamie Pickett in that fight last time out, He wins, and we rear naked choke him. It's that simple. He apparently doesn't have a jiu-jitsu coach. Jamie Pickett doesn't know what rear naked chokes are, and he doesn't know how to put back hooks in. If he did, that fight would have been over. Josh Fremd gets tired, gets rocked, shoots bad takedowns, leaves his neck out, and then gives his back up as a gift to anybody he is fighting every single time. Now, Hopilov is going to be the better striker, so obviously he can win this thing by knockout. But if things get sketchy, if he hurts Fremd, if Fremd decides to change levels and take this thing to the ground, Hopilov's been training in Dagestan. He's working his wrestling. You got to assume from all that wrestling, the cardio is probably getting a little bit better too. So he's actively working on his grappling, and Fremd has a solid weakness that we see time and time again, and this is not enough time for him to train that weakness out of himself. It's a quick turnaround. He's going to make the same exact mistakes. If Hopilov wants it, it's there. And that's the real key here. Hopilov has never even looked for a submission in the UFC because he's a primary striker. But I do think there's going to be a lot of pushing the grappling from Fremd because we see that in every single one of his fights. So it's just a matter of if Hopilov takes the gift that is put in front of him, that will be Josh Fremd's neck. And at 16-1, I'm going to have to go back to the well. I'm going to have to try it because everything I saw in the Jamie Pickett fight just reestablished that I was correct about Fremd. And now I have a better fighter who's working on his grappling in the exact same circumstance. Back to it, baby. We're trying it again. 16-1. Come on, Hopilov. Make me look like a genius and cash me for 8 units in one single play. I want it. Next up, you got Godinez taking on Elise Reed. Godinez 116, Reed 115.5. Lupi looked very confident up there today. Cocky smile and flex. No problems for her whatsoever. Got the little T-Rex arms thing going on when she flexed. Elise Reed, one arm flex from her. She looked okay. Bit lobster faced, but that's kind of what she does. You know, she's your classic white girl. They size up really well. This was another good face-off. And you guys know, I actually like Elise Reed. I like her striking. I like what she does on the feet, but she has no grappling. None whatsoever. No takedown defense. No ability to get up off of her back. If Lupi grapples, she wins this fight via murder. It's that simple. So Lupi absolutely is deserving of this price tag. But you just got to ask yourself if you can count on her fight IQ. Minus 425 for Lupi Godinez. She can win this fight striking. She does hit harder than Reed. She can be more active than Reed on the feet. So she might be able to win this fight striking. But if she grapples, she's minus 1,000. So it's a pretty simple spot to me that you got to trust Lupi. I know it's terrifying. She's let everybody down at a big chalky price tag before. Yeah, there goes my guy D. Will Lupi wrestle? Exactly. The thing is, I actually think she can win this fight without wrestling, which is terrifying because then it's going to end up being close. But I think you got to go Lupi. It's hard really to do anything otherwise. And, you've got someone who's durable enough in Lupi that even if Reed does connect with one of those big shots, I'd be worried about some other fighters. Not Lupi. She's got a brick for a head. Her head was like twice the size of Elise Reed's when they faced off. So yeah, not really too worried about it. Wouldn't be surprised if Lupi comes out for, Mexican showcase card and actually puts on a real show and like tries to go for a finish or something like that too. Entirely possible. Next up, Kyle Nelson takes on Fernando Padilla. Nelson 146, Padilla 145.5. And Kyle Nelson looked a bit rough on the scales again. He always does. He had a blank face on him up there. No big deal. Like I said, we're kind of used to this. He's a big guy, well-muscled, really strong, has a tough time with this cut week in and week out. So can't really be too surprised at that. Fernando Padilla, though, looked shredded. I mean, we've got a couple of these tall, lanky, skinny, muscly guys coming up next. Padilla, the first one of them, looked fantastic. Abs for days, and he was really feeling himself, too. These guys face off, and Padilla's got a big height advantage here. This was an intense stare down. We are seeing a Padilla here that is out for blood, which I love. Padilla's in the parlay. I do think Kyle Nelson's luck has run out. We talked about this one on Monday with Brandon Olivas, and Nelson's been kind of the spoiler the last couple of events, right? Like he pulled the outright upset last time out. He drew the draw with Du Ho Choi when he wasn't supposed to. He's really been doing some good things. He's been showing some good things, some evolution. He's using his tools the way he needs to. He's staying in the fight. I just think there's a certain point where you go, okay, you can't keep doing that. He's flying a little close to the sun. He just isn't that guy, and he can't keep it up. So in this spot, I fully expect him to fall to Padilla, and I kind of think the Padilla sub spot is live here. I was looking at the sub 2-3 lines just to see if maybe like Kyle Nelson can survive that first round. You get a little, you can get bit doing this kind of thing because obviously Padilla could just smoke him early in this fight. But what we've seen from Kyle Nelson is he's taken it a little bit slower lately, and that's let him survive. When he gets finished, it's round 2, round 3, rather than being round 1 these days. And I do kind of think that the long, lanky arms of Padilla, you'll either get Kyle Nelson hurt on the feet and then shooting in for a takedown, looking for that clinch cage control like he always does, and giving up a neck in that spot. Or if he gets floored, Padilla just jumps on top of him and he gives up his back, something like that. I think the sub is definitely live, and you can get the sub straight at 4-1 if you want. That might go in my sub special, but the 2 and 3 round sub props are like 12-1 and 25-1, stuff like that. Those are fun sprinkles. I don't mind that. We got an over 1.5 look here from Kakulaski. And yeah, that's not a bad look there. I don't mind that. Glenbot says Padilla by decision. Again, it's another one where really don't mind that. It could happen. He could hang in there and survive for sure. All right. Next up, you have got Christos Giagos taking on Daniel Zellhuber. Both guys at 156 pounds weighing in today. Christos Giagos' muscles are back. I talked about it in his last fight. After a long layoff, he looked like he had slimmed down a little bit. He wasn't quite as much on the juice. He looked a little softer physically, obviously, still very explosive, won by round 1 knockout. But I didn't think he was going to muscle back up. Well, he muscled back up, ladies and gentlemen. He was there and thick today in all his glory. Daniel Zellhuber shredded. Another guy, long and slim and tall, very lanky, really long arms. He's got a huge height advantage in this spot. Zellhuber is massive. This was a really good face-off. I mean, you got to go with Zellhuber. You have to. I know a lot of people that are kind of interested in the Giagos side, and I get it. You've got the short, tanky grappler that can put this kid with all those giraffe legs on his back and try and wear him out that way. That ain't it for me. I mean, we've seen Giagos slow down. We've seen him get tired from wrestling, and then he's so hittable. And I think, like I've said before many times, he's low-key chinny. If you just catch him in the right spot, he's going to go down. And what we saw from Zellhuber in his last fight is just that next stage of evolution. And again, this is a big stage for a kid who's maybe the hottest prospect in this country right now. They're not putting him in this spot to take an L. They're giving him a guy that's the next stage of his evolution, someone who can offer him some type of threat, but also somebody who he can overcome. So I do think this is a spot where Zellhuber should get the win. He might have to survive like a tough round 1, but I do think he eventually finds the chin of Christos Giagos. And the sub chance is always there, of course. But, even for being the submission guy, I think he knocks him out. I really think Zellhuber is going to keep that range, keep that reach, and then crack him on the jaw. I think that's the way to go here in this spot, personally. Next up, you got Terrence Mitchell, Raul Rosas Jr., 135.5 for Mitchell, 135 on the dot for Raul Rosas Jr. And Mitchell is crazy in shape, dude. Like, when he flexes, you see every single muscle in his body. Like, there is 0% body fat on this kid. He is absolutely as shredded as I've ever seen. Raul Rosas Jr., on the other hand, he's more of the thick, solid type, right? Good face-off. Height advantage goes to Mitchell. Rosas, definitely a little broader, a little thicker. I think this is a great spot for him to bounce back. I mean, the UFC brought in the Alaska FC kid to go ahead and take another L here on the big stage and build up this 18-year-old kid in Raul Rosas Jr. Now, the question is, does he do it in round 1 or round 2, right? Like, does Mitchell survive? Does he go full like turtle submission defense mode, or does he fight life and death with Rosas and try and get that early KO, which is going to lead to him dying or glory? Like, it kind of all depends on how he comes into this fight, right? So it's got to be Rosas Jr. for me. I'm expecting round 1, probably a sub, because that's just what this kid does. But don't be surprised if he like crucifixes him and elbows him to hell or something like that, because that's entirely possible. We got Daz in the house. My guy addicted to combat. What's up, Patrick? Good to see you here, my guy. Thank you for jumping in. Hans in here with the shredded. That's right. That's what's up. Usman calling for the upset. Zellhuber is going to get Trey Ogden again. See, and that's kind of the point for me, right? Like, I think they're giving him a guy who's like just a little more Trey Ogden, except he's got that chin concern in his back pocket. So it's like, well, if he's going to get Ogdened, he can find his way out of it. He's not quite as durable. He could get cracked, and that could be the way he overcomes that challenge. The UFC knows what they're doing. They're building this kid. So maybe Giagos gets it done. Maybe he does, but I don't think so. All right, everybody, do me a favor. hit that like button. We already got 190 people in here live. What's up? Happy Friday to ya. You've got Jack Della, Maddalena taking on Kevin Holland in your co-main event. Jack Della, 171. Kevin Holland, 170 and a half. Jack Della did require the box of shame today. He was the last fighter to make weight, but honestly, he moved well. It really wasn't a problem. Like, he got up there. He looked like he was a little miffed. He made weight. He got down. It was fine. Like, there wasn't anything about him that I was like, ooh, he wasn't sucked out. He wasn't cracked out. His eyes weren't sunken in. He looked okay. He looked all right. Like, maybe they just undershot it a little bit. Kevin Holland, the weird thing about him today is he wasn't talking. His big mouth. Big mouth is always talking. He's talking shit to everybody. He's talking to the people at the weigh-ins. He's talking to the lady that tells you to stay up there for 5 more seconds every time. He didn't say a word to anybody today. It was really weird. Now, when he got off the stage or off the scale, he did lose his balance there for a second. I actually think he slipped. You know, we look for people that are like wavering after their weight cuts and stuff like that. I don't think this was like a lost balance due to weight issue situation. I actually think he just missed the scale, so nothing to worry about there. Holland does have a decent height advantage here in this spot, but JDM is so much thicker today. Like, when these guys face off, Kevin Holland usually towers over his opponents, and he's a little bit taller, don't get me wrong, but it's not like he's drastically taller the way Zellhuber is in this spot, and Jack Della is thick. I mean, when they stand next to each other, it's like, damn, dude. Like, Jack looks like he's another one of these 185ers. So, interesting dynamic here. Neither of these guys making eye contact. Neither of them having fun and talking to each other. This was all business for these boys today. This has been a bit of the Twitter civil war, maybe the top one here. You've got a slight favorite, Jack Della Maddalena, minus 140, minus 145-ish, plus 120 on Kevin Holland. And I've seen a lot of love for Kevin Holland this week, folks. And I've been leaning with Jack Della all week. I haven't bet it. Again, he's at the bottom of my list on my parlays that I made for this card, where we're just doing a parlay leveling up for every single fight on the card. I'm not getting off of it. I like Jack Della. Maybe I should have pulled the trigger when he was a little closer to even money earlier in the week. I still might add him. I don't know. Like, there's a lot of people I really respect on the Kevin Holland side, but I feel like this is a spot where the UFC went, look, Jack Della just got out grappled by a guy. Let's give him somebody who's a big name, who still presents a challenge, who's still dangerous, but doesn't wrestle. Like, that's what they're doing here. They're giving him a fun fight, a guy who's going to compete with him, a guy who's not going to make the best decisions, a guy who's got a name attached to him. They're trying to revive the hype of Jack Della Maddalena in this spot. So it just comes down to whether or not he can beat Kevin Holland. And I know Holland is going to have the height advantage. He's going to have the reach advantage. He's actually a very good, solid technical striker himself, but I don't think he's better than Jack. It just comes down to, can Jack close that range? And we've seen people have been able to do that on Holland time and time again. Hell, what if Jack wrestles? Have you ever thought about that? What if Jack Della takes Kevin Holland down? Like, that could happen in this fight. And we've seen Holland has nothing from his back if people offensively grapple against him. So I still like Jack Della. I still like Jack Della. I don't particularly love the price tag. This is a coin that I simply don't need to flip. We'll see if I can stay off it by fight time, because you guys know me. There's a chance I do end up just getting on it because I can't help myself. So we'll see what happens. But I'm going to pick Jack Della here. I don't hate it if you're taking the stab on Kevin Holland. He's always a good bet at plus money. And the sub prop with Kevin Holland it's been something we've gone to time and time again and made money on. So I can't blame anybody for trying to go back to that well. I think JDM is just a little too slick. I don't see it this time personally myself. But there have been a couple times where I've ignored value, like last week on Sean Strickland, where I saw the value and just went, no, there's no way he's losing at home. Could have cashed a plus 600 ticket if we had played the value, so you never know. It might be there. It might be there for you. Main event time. Alexa Grasso takes on Valentina Shevchenko, both women, 124.5. Grasso, the first to the scale, ever the champion. Love this girl. She was relaxed. She looked good. No problems. Valentina Shevchenko, these weight cuts always do look like they're a little bit tough on her. She's well muscled. She's getting older, but very confident smirk from her. Her classic stance with the one arm up. This is a great face-off. Really great face-off. And the UFC did a good job of hyping this one up. That hype reel right before the face-off at the ceremonial weigh-ins, that got me. That got me going. I love this fight. I've been a fan of Grasso forever. Cashed in on her as a plus 550 dog last time out. I did wait for the fight to start in the first fight because I wanted to make sure she was in there and competitive before I pulled the trigger. So I didn't get in plus 600 pre-flop. I said it was dog or pass all week, and I would look to live bet it if I like what I saw. I liked what I saw almost immediately and jumped in at plus 550. So we did cash in on Grasso last time. And as soon as they rebooked this one, I had this circled on my calendar. I waited for them to drop this number, and they did. They were disrespectful, and they put a plus 200 out there on Grasso. Got it for 2 units. I tweeted it immediately. So I hope some of you got in on that with me, because the champ is plus 145 now. I've said a long time that I think it's disrespectful to make the champion the underdog. Obviously, there's circumstances where that doesn't necessarily apply as much, but Grasso showed that she can compete with Shevchenko. In fact, she hurt Shevchenko so badly on the feet that she made her wrestle. Now we're coming back months later, where the younger fighter is going to be the one making larger improvements, and you think she's been doing anything but drill takedown defense this entire time. I think Grasso is going to put on a show tomorrow. I think Grasso is going to win this fight, and she's going to do it even more dominantly so. Now, I do think probably Grasso by decision, which is plus 350 if you want that extra juice on there. But something did catch my eye. And like I mentioned before, Grasso was hurting Valentina Shevchenko on the feet in their last fight. She really was. She's a very intense woman. She hits like an absolute mule, and she has no problem going for the finish. When you look at those round props, Grasso by knockout in like 3, 4, and 5, I mean, the numbers are stupid. It's like 70 to 1, 80 to 1, 90 to 1 in rounds 3, 4, and 5. And I've got a feeling that Shevchenko will not simply accept an L here. You know, if she is losing this fight, she wants her belt back. This is a legacy fight. She needs to win this one. I kind of think she'll go for broke in the championship rounds if she's down on the scorecards or feels like she needs to push it. And that opens up opportunities for people to get finishes. So while I do think this thing is probably going the full 25, I do think it's going over. I'm definitely still picking the champ, Alexa Grasso, and still, I think there's just that slightest opportunity that she finishes her with her hands instead of with her submission prowess this time around. Because if they don't go to the ground, if Grasso is not kept on her back for the majority of this fight like she was in the first fight, she was piecing her up in the first fight. I could see the KO coming this time around if she's able to keep it standing. And if you just want to sprinkle that, it's 12 to 1. If you don't want to fuck around with the sprinkle round props, it's just 12 to 1 for her to win by KO. Maybe I'll have a taste of that. Maybe we'll just get a little taste of that. But I'm going and still. Definitely on the Grasso side. Got in early. And if you guys watched the Sharp Action Report with my guy Andrew from Superbook Sports, the big guy, the #1 sports bettor over at Superbook Sports, he came in early on Grasso. And you guys know what I say. Anytime me and the big guy are on the same dog and we don't communicate about it, I didn't know the big guy was in on it, and that kind of pushed me over the edge. Like we both ended up on the same side of our own decision making. Usually ends up pretty well. So I'm loving me some Grasso. I'm loving me beating the line move. Let's freaking go, folks. That is the Undefeated post weigh-in show. I'm going to go get my wifey some dinner. We're going to have ourselves a nice little night, or some college football and play with my daughter. And then tomorrow we're going to watch some people punch each other in the face, and I can't freaking wait. Right now, I only have like 3 plays. So I've got Tracy Cortez. I have got Alexa Grasso. And then I have Hopilov by submission at 16 to 1. Those are the only official plays I really have. And then I have the parlays. And that's what I tweeted out earlier in the week. I will retweet those parlays to let you guys know what I'm doing. Again, it's PRP Cody Saftik style. So you make like a parlay, which you think is like the most secure line to win. And then you add fighters down the line for additional sprinkles of money to make the odds longer. Check out my Twitter, check out my Instagram if you want to see the formatting on that. And I did put those out there. It's very chalky this week, so pick your spots carefully on these dogs. This feels a lot like France to me, because the UFC is really trying to do something in Mexico, and they've lost a lot of momentum in Mexico. We've seen this the last couple of fights. Yair got that sexy, shiny belt, and he lost it in front of everybody. Like, they're really trying to show out for Mexico, and this card is the redemption. This card is when those Mexican stars have that opportunity to really shine, and they've given them the softballest matchmaking I think I've ever seen. Like, I thought there were going to be a couple people that got upset on the French card because it seemed like they were using some of them more as stepping stones than stars. It's the opposite here. They are using all the Mexican fighters as the stars, and they are giving them perfect matchups to look good. Now, granted, there's always going to be a parlay buster or two. Somebody will come through and ruin your day. But I think most of these fighters are going to win. And I think most of them are going to do so in impressive fashion. Expect a fun fight card, lots of finishes. This one should be a banger. Keep your bullets close to your chest. Be smart with your money. Let's stay small. Let's pick our spots. Let's stack a couple of chips. And then when we find those good spots a little bit later on in the year, we will just absolutely hammer them and end this year on top. Let's make some money, everybody. Love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Kick some ass. Let's roll.